A very good evening to you who is watching UBC TV. Thank you so much for joining me, Sophie Matovu, on U Health Chat. Now, globally, an estimated 5 million people are diagnosed with epilepsy each year. That is on record. Today on the show, we are going to demystify epilepsy because, we would like to find out, is it a brain disorder, and not a disease? Because, diseases are the ones that will catch. While if it is not a disease, you cannot get it, it's not contagious. Anyway, there are lots of myths and misconceptions, and lots of people who have epilepsy there have chosen to keep quiet, silently about the condition because of the stigma surrounding it and have not come up open to seek assistance. In Kampala, you might be having an advantage where you at least have a bit of this knowledge. But what about a person who is not within the central here and does not seem to even know what it is? Many people out there suffering, but I have an expert with me in studio, and that is none other than Sarah Nekesa, who is an executive director of Epilepsy Support Association, Uganda. Sarah is in a better position to take us through the whole bit of it and to help us to demystify this condition. Sarah, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Sophie. I'm fine, thank you.
Now, start with, break it down in the layman's language. Very, very simple. When we talk about epilepsy, what is epilepsy?
Okay, in the layman's language, it's the disease of the brain. But in medical language, it's called a neurological condition that affects the normal functioning of the brain, characterized by seizures. That is epilepsy.
Now, you talked about seizures. What is a seizure? Because we might be saying that, and then somebody thinks we are speaking, I don't know what kind of language.
A seizure happens when your brain does not function so well, the way it is supposed to function. Our brain is made up of so many wires. I'm talking as now a layman person, a lay person, because it has so many wires. So if those wires are not running, the currency in those wires are not running well, they will cause a spark. Like electricity spark. So when that electricity spark happens, that's when a seizure happens on you as a human being. Now what happens is, the most common seizure that we know is where you go down, you fall down, and you jerk. You jerk a lot, and several things happen around you. And since it's a neurological condition, so our nerves are affected, everything around you is affected. You are not in this world, in other words. So you are disconnected. You are not there. So all this that is happening around you is you are not experiencing it as a patient. Yeah, that is a seizure.
Okay. Now, what is the cause of epilepsy?
There are several causes of epilepsy. We shall start with trauma on the head. On the brain, I should say, because it's a disease of the brain. So traumas are so many. We can talk of accidents. Every time you get an accident and you hit your head, there are very high chances that your brain is affected. At birth, children who are not well, ladies who are not well managed when they are giving birth, at that point of pushing, and you're not able to push the child in time, and the head, remember the head is the one which is
stuck
out.
in the birth canal, or maybe
yeah, something like that. So not in the birth canal, in
out,
the thighs.
in the thighs.
So there is that trauma. The head of the child is being pressed.
Oh, yeah.
Then also still at birth, there is those accidents that happen in the labor ward, where a child has been born, but then, the fluid is so slippery at that time. So that child falls off through the caretaker's hands, and that child falls. You see that trauma has gone to the head. And at childbirth, a child, the heaviest part is the head. So it goes down fast. So there are very high chances that the brain of that child has been affected in one way or the other. Going further, in children still, malaria. And not well managed malaria causes epilepsy, because then when a child gets convulsions over and over, It means when a child gets convulsions, it means the malaria has gone to the brain. The fever, when they get high fevers, and so the kid turns the eyes. In Buganda, they call it a yabwe. They mistake it for a yabwe. And by the time the child is turning the eyes, just know that the fever has gone to the child's brain. So if it's not well managed, that brain is getting damaged in one way or the other. And that kid is susceptible to epilepsy. There are other causes. For example, we have a fly that breeds along the Nile, along rivers, not only the Nile. It's called onco. It's the onco, a fly called onco. It causes onchocerciasis. So that fly, that infection goes to your brain, and it causes that recurrent, non-controlled electricity in your brain. There is a study which has also come out with facts that Sophie, you're a Muslim, right? Or you are not, you're Christian. Okay. People enjoy pork. Enjoy pork so much, but not very well cooked pork has a cyst. It is the only meat that has a cyst. It's a worm that if it's not well cooked to 100 degrees, that cyst will not die. So when you consume it, it moves through your bloodstream and it lodges itself in the brain. And as it's lodging itself in the brain, that's where it feels very comfortable. And it causes uncomfort on you who has the brain. So as time goes on, you start having seizures, and they are epileptic seizures.
Wow, that's very strange.
Yes. Yeah, and infections also like HIV in its late stages, meningitis when not well managed. At its late stages, they cause epilepsy because it goes to the brain.
Yes, yes, yes.
Of course, also alcohol and substance misuse. Every time you take alcohol and you get drunk, it means your brain is affected, right?
Yeah.
So if you continue bombarding your brain with the same substance and the brain is showing you different things, it means the brain is not functioning at a at a rate it's supposed to function. So the continuous bombardment of your brain with such substances causes epilepsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you as an association, how bad is this condition here? In terms of, like, I believe you have your statistics as you, and you know that this is how bad it is in Uganda.
Yeah.
This is where you've most seen cases in Uganda, and maybe of the causes that you have said, this is one of the major causes from your own discovery as an association.
Yeah.
What is the situation like? Paint for us a picture.
We partnered with Makerere School of Health Sciences, and we carried out a survey, and we have just disseminated it last year. We found out that in every 1,000 people, 10 people are with epilepsy. That's a very big number as far as we are concerned. And so not all these people are out there to be seen, by the way, because of its stigma and discrimination around it. Not so many people are willing to come out and say, I have epilepsy. So even if they have said, okay, these are sample sizes that we have carried out, but how about if we carried house to house like census? It means the number can really go high, up and high. So it's a real big burden, characterized by less knowledge, because not even all medical personnel understand epilepsy. Not everybody you will meet understands epilepsy, because then epilepsy is characterized by so many myths and misconceptions.
Yeah, true.
And it is also known that every time somebody gets a seizure, the first point of going to get care is in traditional witch doctors and those levels of care. It is only after some time that they realize that they are not getting help and care from wherever they went first, that they go to our medical facilities to get help. So as you see, it can really take long for this person to accept, first of all, but also to get care and help. So the numbers are really not nice, most especially in the rural areas. In the urban areas, there is awareness mostly, and the drugs are available. But in the rural areas, it is really appalling, very, very appalling. As an association, we work in about 46 districts in the country.
That's great.
And we partner with several health facilities, but the numbers are really bad. Those that seek care are very few, and those that do not seek care are the majority.
Now, how do you deal with it? Because assuming, of course, like when you're up country, I know for a fact that in some of the households, these children are looked at like outcasts. They will not want them to be in public. They will want to hide them. The family might even be ignored in the area or the locale where they are. How are you supporting them to ensure that at least there is some kind of awareness and this does not happen?
As an association, our first point of intervention is, first of all, to make sure that this person is on medication. Because without medication, you are wasting time. But then we go ahead to, because since they are, if we tell them to go to medical facilities and get this help, but at that medical facility, we always encourage that medical facility to open up clinics for epilepsy people with epilepsy, such that they have a day they converge in a place like that one. Apart from medication, there should be peer-to-peer talks. So we have created a group in this facility where, okay, we have come for medical assistance and care, management and all that. But then after that, what happens? We say, okay, can you sit somewhere under the tree and talk about this? Because your epilepsy might be very different from my epilepsy. The way I'm treated in the community might be different, a little bit different from how you are being treated where you're coming from. So we create those groups, and with those groups, we are doing self-help talks with them. We start them, we teach them to know how to communicate, but then thereafter, these groups, we don't leave them the way they are. We want these groups registered with government. Like they register like CBOs, so that they can also benefit from these government development programs. So that when that money comes, like for example, for people with disability, there's a special grant for people with disability. They should be able also to get that money, so that it helps them with their livelihoods. How do they manage themselves? If the drugs are not there and there is no money, you will not be able to manage yourself. So these are the things we do. And we do a lot of talks with communities. We do a lot of awareness. We work with even schools, because a person with epilepsy, a child, a learner with epilepsy, has a very big challenge, Sophie. We have scenarios where a child gets a seizure in class, and it's the teacher who says, you go out, never come back, until that demon is exorcised from your head. That's when you come back to the school. And when that child comes back the next day, he is isolated. It's put on a different desk. You're not supposed to share with these other children. So there is a lot of stigma in class, such that this child will not continue, will say, no, I'm not going to that school again. You get me? So we work a lot with schools also, most especially primary schools. We want to change the mindset of all the communities around a learner. Because we want a person with epilepsy also to achieve, to be employed, to be somebody in the community. But it cannot be done if they have not achieved their educational levels to a certain level. That's what we are doing at Sophie.
Now, there are certain times, at least I have seen somebody, you know, a person with epilepsy, sorry, get a seizure. And one of the things you realize is that as they're jerking, they will form, you know? And there was a belief and a myth that form you try to help them and then the form gets onto your hands. By all means, you're definitely going to also get epileptic seizures. What are the signs and symptoms that you can break down quickly for a person to be able to help and identify, so that we know that besides the jerking and the creating of the form, what are the other bits that they will know that if I see this, then I know I need to help this person? These are signs and symptoms. Do I pick them up, or I leave them to first go through the entire seizure?
A person with epilepsy, when they are getting a seizure, like I introduced the topic, they are out of this world. They are not controlling the environment. They are not aware of the environment. So at that point of having a seizure, they are falling and jerking. By the way, that's just one type. There is another one where they're just there. It's called an absence seizure. We shall come back to that.
Okay.
Now, that one, when they fall, when a person around this person having a seizure, all you need to do is remove objects around that person. Okay, let them have their seizure. Do not refrain. This is a neurological. The nerves are fighting. They are stiffening up. So you cannot fight with this person. In the process, you might instead hurt them. What you do, remove all harmful objects around them. If they are a gentleman and he has a tie, please remove the tie or loosen the tie and the belt. If it's a lady, help the lady to cover such that they are not. By the way, they get raped a lot because in that condition they don't know where they are and they don't know what is happening to them. So if it happens to them in a place where somebody can take advantage of them and they are raped, for ladies. So, but you who is near them, please cover them. Do not. There's a tendency of carers putting a spoon. We were in Ibududa, that's where we celebrated our this year's International Epilepsy Day. And we got stories where they said, me, I put a spoon, another one, they put a knife. Then another one said, me, I stuck clothes because then they bite the tongue. All those are wrong things you're doing because you're going to suffocate this person. The beauty with biting the tongue, it's a soft tissue. And that tissue can easily rebuild. I think you've ever bitten yourself and you see, yeah, it is, you've bitten yourself, it is, but the moment you eat salt and it heals very fast. So that the tongue is that part of our body that heals really fast. So leave that person to do whatever they are doing. Sometimes they pee on themselves, sometimes they defecate on themselves. Let them do it as long as at that time they're still fighting and jerking. Until they sort of calm down. Now the body is calming down. That's the time you turn them. We call it a recovery position. You lay them on the side, make their body on the side, put their hands or your hand. By the way, at that time when they're jerking, what I didn't say is put a soft something under their head, because it's the head that really
they keep banging
it down. So put something soft for them not to continue hurting the head. So when you turn them, it's called a recovery position. It is the best position for them to recover. Because then when they sleep facing up, there's very high chances that the saliva, that foam, can go back and go into the wrong side, and then they are choked. The same thing when they have lied down, facing down, they can easily be choked. So the best position is that with the head a bit raised until that person is completely back and he has recovered, and you see that in most cases when they come back, they are like this, like,
what happened?
what happened? And it's like it's confused. In most cases, they want to pick up their things and move very fast and go away. But it is also very good to talk to them and tell them what has happened to them, and say it's okay. It is not contagious, so there is no way I'm going to carry my brain and I put it in your brain for you to get this disease. There is no way. So it's like any other disease. It's a non-communicable disease, so it is not going to pass over to you. Please help these people wherever they are. Help them, but do not refrain and restrain them on the ground when they are jerking.
Now help a mother to identify the difference between a seizure and convulsions.
Okay. Okay.
Because since the characteristics are pretty much the same, because now, is it okay for when a child is convulsing, that bit where they stick up the spoon in there?
No.
But they do it.
No.
And amazingly, even in hospitals.
No. Okay. For a mother who is having a child who is having convulsions, the difference between a convulsion and an epileptic convulsion or an epileptic seizure, because they are all seizures in a way. An epileptic seizure is untriggered. If I say untriggered, is later I'll talk to you about triggers of a seizure. This person has been very okay, no malaria, eaten well, things are going on very well, the way we are talking here, and then I fall. Okay, I do it the first time. The next time, maybe in 2 weeks or another 1 month or another month, it happens the same way. Then I fall. If it happens the third time, it's a confirmation that it's epilepsy. For a convulsion, this child has to be sick.
With a high fever.
High fever. You know, has been crying. There is a trigger for that.
Oh, yeah.
There is something that has caused this child to have this convulsion. But with epilepsy, there is no trigger. We are here, we are talking. And
the next minute you're down.
Yeah. So those are the differences. And I think with the convulsion, mostly it is in children, mostly. Not in adults. Some adults have those seizures, but they are not as frequent as in children. But in children, it's basically when they have those fevers, have malaria, they have something, they've been crying a lot, and the kid just falls the other side convulsing. With epilepsy, they are very untriggered. You go and you go. Yeah, hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Now, earlier you had mentioned about different types of epilepsy.
Okay.
Where you say there is that one where they'll do the jerking, and you say there's one there where there's no motion whatsoever.
Yes.
That I've not heard of before. I'm learning.
Okay. Please
take us through.
It is the most, I think when we talk to people, that's when they realize, I think I also have epilepsy. Because there are those times. This type of seizure is called an absence seizure. Sophie, as we're talking now, this book will fall off, okay? And everything around me will loosen
Go
up.
limp.
And then I'll stare in. And then I'll not blink. Then I'll just be there. I've not fallen, I'm not jerking, but it's just there. You get me? For some people even go up to 3 minutes, some of them go up to...
That is long.
Yes, and they are lost, they are not there. And if we go to our normal lives, there are those times, in a second, you're like, what happened to me? It's not a seizure, but it is something similar to that. It's mostly in children. It's mostly in children. And these children, parents mostly punish them. You've sent a child for a fork, they are bringing back a Benson. You've sent them for this, they are bringing back that. Along the way, something happened. This kid is taking porridge, taking a cup of tea, all of a sudden the cup goes and they have poured themselves, and he's staring for you. You think he's maybe being funny, and you're adding injury by slapping that child, or
Oh dear.
you see, but the kid is undergoing a seizure.
Oh dear.
Even in class, you're telling a child to do this, everything is falling and they are staring, and you know, the teachers do not understand this. It is because it is mostly in children. So these are the things we want mothers and parents to understand, and then also teachers and school environment to understand, most especially in children. They should look out for such symptoms in a child. Then they have to be careful around that child and monitor and see if this is recurrent or not. Yes.
Now, with the fact that you said you have no control, just like you get the difference between the convulsions and epilepsy. So how is one supposed to manage? Are there specific, methods or ways? Because you also imagine it's like if somebody has to take medicine all throughout their life. Are there ways in which they can manage and know? Because if they know that these are the signs and the symptoms, then they'll easily know that if I am feeling this one, then this is bound to happen.
Yeah.
How do you go about it?
Unfortunately, with epilepsy, you may not everybody has a symptom to show that I'm going to have a seizure. Okay. But there are those, what they call an aura. There is, they see something unusual, most especially those who are on medication. So it's like a warning sign. They see dead people, they see a snake, they see unusual things. And when they see that, they know that in a few minutes, I'm going to have a seizure. It's like a warning sign for them. It's an aura. So when they have that, in most cases, they tell their carers, and or they go away from the crowd, and the seizure takes place when they are isolated somewhere. Those are a few, not all of them. Because you have mentioned, when you have, I mentioned that epilepsy is a chronic disease. So once you have epilepsy, you have been diagnosed with epilepsy, and you've been put on medication, there are very high chances that you'll take this medication for a very long time. I wouldn't qualify
to say for life,
life.
But for a long time.
For a very long time. Because there are those who are weaned off medication, by the way.
Oh.
Yes. But it takes discipline, taking your medication religiously, seeing your doctor all the time. Every change that happens in your body, you're sharing with your doctor. And then you discuss, because there are sometimes, there are very strong drugs. A person with epilepsy, drugs are a meal for a day. The way you look at food every day, they have to take their drugs on a daily. So if you have been coached very well and you know that my life depends on these drugs, there are very high chances that you will be weaned off slowly. Because if you are having your seizures, say 7 times a month, and they put you on a certain drug list, they say you're going to take this type, and this type. And they watch you over some time. You reduce maybe to 4 or 5 in a month. That is progression, right?
Yeah, it is.
So the dosage you are taking when you're having 7 is not the same dosage you're going to take. So they wean you slowly. There are people who are taking like one tablet for like 4 years, like 3 years. The only danger is when our people with epilepsy see this change in them, they abandon.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've taken 2 months or 3 months without
getting a seizure.
So why am I on these drugs? And when it comes back, it is ferocious. There is very high chance that you can lose your life. So the better you continue, and it's the doctor to wean you off the drugs, not by yourself.
What are the side effects that come with them? Because I've had some complain and they say they will get a very high appetite, they will put on weight. There are some issues or characteristics that they say that come along with being on this medication.
Yeah. I say that they are very strong drugs. So they bring toxicity in the body. And there are those that do not rhyme so well with you when you're taking. There are those that bring appetite. There are those that make you lose appetite. There are those that kill libido. There are those that give high libido. So every time you get any kind of these interferences, please talk to your doctor. You have to talk to your doctor and they see how to manage. What we tell a person with epilepsy who is on these drugs is you have to be succulent all the time. You have to take a lot of water all the time, such that the toxicity
is washed out.
Because you're taking it for a very long time. Where are they depositing themselves? So they have to drink a lot. They have to drink a lot of water, fluids really. They have to drink a lot of fluids. We tell parents in the villages we work, let them at least give them water to the children going to school, pack for them water. At least it is the minimum you can give your child. Pack a bottle of water for them, let them go to school with it. Let them take tea. Let them take this black dry tea with something that will make the body release all the toxins that are depositing in our bodies. Yeah.
Now, is this true or false? It's rumored that marijuana has a particular substance in it that is able to manage seizures. I do not know, but it is rumored.
There is a drug, I will not mention its name. Okay. There is a drug that we use for patients. But when you're going to pick it, for us we buy our drugs from joint medical stores. That drug, because it has that substance, you have to sign and like really you have to go through so much procedures for you to get it from joint medical stores, because it's believed it has that substance in there. And if it is not well used and managed, it will be bad. It will be a bad thing. So by the time you get it from there, you either have a license or something to get such drugs from there. So yeah, they are there, but they are controlled. They are very controlled. The drugs are being used, but in controlled measures.
Okay,
Yeah.
at least then that is a good one.
Yeah.
Then ideally, you talked about, at least I'm glad you did tell us about the quickest first aid when somebody's in their recovery, period. Then how do you still support and stop the stigma? Because there's certain times you might find some people will be afraid of losing their jobs once they let maybe even their closest friends in a workspace know that this is my condition, because a seizure has no control. An attack has no control. It will get you anywhere at any time. What is your word of advice?
Our gospel is a person with epilepsy is like a person who has malaria. It can get you anytime, and you can manage it. The only difference is mine, I'm falling down. But I'm not, if I'm away from that small time that I'm having a seizure, I am a normal person and I can perform my duties to its best. What we talk to people about is everybody with epilepsy has a right. And that right is a constitutional right.
Yeah, true.
We have taken 2 people to court for making our people lose their jobs. because they got a seizure on the job. A mere seizure on the job, and somebody comes back and is performing their duties very well, and they have been compensated. My call to employers out there, my call to teachers, to everybody that we live within the community is that even if I took tea with you on the same cup, epilepsy will not get you. I don't see why you should discriminate against me. And if you need a job, I also need a job. Yeah, if you need a family, I also need a family. I'm a normal person like you. I'm only disturbed at that point where I'm having a seizure. Please do not send me out. I did not choose to have epilepsy.
Yes, true.
So that's the gospel we move with. And so many people have come to understand it.
Now, amongst the different districts where at least you've been able to move and where you're best, what's the situation like?
Ooh. I told you we were in Bududa. We have not worked in Bududa before. So we have just started going to Bududa in issues to do with climate change and landslides with people with epilepsy. So if the river Manafa floods and the person is on the other side and the Bududa hospital is this side, how do they come? So we did an inception 2 weeks ago in Bududa, and we asked, and we actually met people. I can assure you it's appalling. We just went to 2 sub-counties. That is the sub-county of Bushika and Bobita. But we were overwhelmed because then we told them, please mobilize for us these people with epilepsy in the community. We want to talk to them, want to know their challenges. This is our first time we are in this place. In Bobita, we got over 120 people.
With epilepsy?
With epilepsy, with evidence, books, and medicines that they are taking.
Oh dear.
I shed a tear because this is a region we have not worked in. And the stigma is tops. The discrimination is not imaginable. It is so bad. West Nile is another place. I think because of the river, Adjumani and Moyo, we have a group, a sub-county called Metu in Moyo. A group has about 600 people with epilepsy. 600. Some of whom are not on medication.
Oh dear.
Because they have to move to Moyo Hospital. It is either Moyo Hospital or Adjumani Hospital. Then they are just these faith-based organizations within there. The Father Bilbao, it is in Metu, where they get that. So we put their drugs to help with the distance. But you can see, it is appalling.
Are the drugs affordable?
The drugs are not very affordable because for a month, I will start with the government setting. These drugs are supposed to be there because it's a disease. It was given a number. It is disease 53. But these drugs are not readily available. People go, yes, but the drugs are not enough. So they will go, the first 10 or first 20 will get the drugs. Or the first 10 will get the one type of drug, but the other type of drug is not there. And yet you're supposed to take a combination of drugs. So that's where we as an organization, we came up with another way, an alternative way of providing. That's why I mentioned Father Bilbao in Metu. We partner with 56 medical centers, faith-based. And I've told you that we go to joint medical stores. We buy medicines from there. We supply these medical centers. We train the nurses there, and they manage the people. So it should be a fallback position when they go to the government setting and the drugs are not there. They should come with a small amount for sustainability. Because if they go off the shelf on clinics and pharmacies, a dose goes for about 25 or 30. But for us, we are giving it between 5 and 10, depending on the region. So they'll find it easier to mix the two. If I found carbamazepine here, I'll find phenobarbital on the other side, in where where ESAU, Epilepsy Support Association, has put drugs. So you pick it from here, pick one, and then go and buy the other one from there. Then your combination is full, and life continues. Yeah.
I can see it's quite a lot on your hands. What's your success story so far as an association? Because I believe there are certain times, yes, you've seen the sad bits, there are those moments which you have seen and you just want to cry about them. You're just like, this is just not happening. But I believe there are times you go back home with a smile.
So many smiles, though.
Your best smile?
My best smile of this week, actually, my treasurer, who is a person living with epilepsy, gave birth. She was wedded 2 months ago, and she gave birth. Normal birth without a seizure. Now, for me, that is a success story.
Oh,
this
wow.
girl came when she had very uncontrolled seizures. She would not even want to be in class. But we went to her school. We talked to them. This is a long journey, now we are moving. Talked to them, talked to her. She accepted her condition, went to school. She's a graduate now, an accountant.
Wow, that's great.
And she got a man. And we are advising her to tell the man the truth. Because in most cases, when they get to know without you telling them, they'll abandon you.
Yeah, true.
So she was really fearing they will leave me. We said, no, he will not leave you. Please bring him and we talk. She brought the guy to office. And it's like, the man is like, I don't know why they have brought me here. I don't know why. And we talked. I asked him whether he knows epilepsy, what. I asked him. He said, yes, I've been seen, but I know them. These people who jack and they are people who like they have no value in the community. So, but slowly I introduced it to him, and he said, what? And I told him I'm a person with a lived experience. He said, what? And I said, your wife has it. Said what? He got up. Yeah, but that day I think he almost fought her and all that. But after a week, he came back apologizing. And then after a month, they were preparing for their wedding.
Oh,
and
that's
he
great.
For me, that's a success story.
That's great.
And also being the fact that we have been able to place these drug banks, we call them drug banks, all over the country. And somebody calls you and says, they call me Mama Esau, Mama Epilepsy. They say, Mama Epilepsy, God bless you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't know where I would be. I am what I am because of your interventions. Me, that is, it makes me sleep.
I know.
I know I've, the little contribution that we have put there has paid off.
That is fantastic. Yeah. Okay, in just like 1 minute, what is your final word to a person watching you right now, to the viewer?
To the viewers, I would say that having epilepsy is not a death sentence. People with epilepsy did not choose to have epilepsy.
True.
And epilepsy can knock at your door anytime. It does not discriminate against age, race, or it can affect you. As long as you have a brain, you are susceptible to catching epilepsy. Please live with people with epilepsy in harmony, help people with epilepsy, make them be at home wherever they are. That's my final word I could say.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah, for your time. I know you're a very busy woman, and to catch you in Kampala was just like a blessing. Thank you so much for your time and for educating the public out there.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think I need to add anything more. You have had it. It is classified as disease number 53. So but nevertheless, it is not contagious. I would like to emphasize and say it's not contagious. Well, it's just about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Keep watching UBC TV for Lauren Kazimoto Masika will be coming your way with the 10 o'clock news. It's good night from me and, of course, from the crew.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Fred!
Osmosis.
Freddy! Fred Dollar! My boss, CEO Inojo, the general of generals, the conqueror.